And it is a good morning. You're listening to Power Talks with Melody and Beth Ann in the morning. And I say it's a good morning, but it is pouring down rain here. We're having a little thunderstorm, but I guess it's okay. I'm really ready for sunshine. Good morning, Melody.
And good morning to you.
I know our listeners look forward to our weather reports.
Yeah, I know. Even I'm getting a little worn out with them. I can only imagine what they...
It's raining again. It's raining.
Well, weather reports brings people together, I believe.
Yes, they do. That and a cup of coffee.
It's breaking the ice.
Absolutely. Well, I know they had a lot of weather in some places this weekend. They had a lot of, we're just getting a lot of rain, the spring rain. We need a little sunshine. But anyway, that's what's going on here. But we had a great weekend. Did you have a great weekend?
Absolutely.
Awesomeness. Well, in the weekend, they had around 200,000 people attend the March for Our Lives gun control event in Washington, D.C. You didn't go to that, did you?
No, I did not.
The number was well below the 500,000 that the organizers thought might come, and they expected 600,000. Initially reported by many of the news outlets, immediately followed the celebrity-fueled march and rally. And the march took place between noon and 3 p.m. on Pennsylvania Avenue, the 3rd Street Northwest of 12th Street Northwest, anyway. So it didn't turn out quite as big as they were hoping for it. But
200,000 is still a nice showing.
It's a pretty big showing.
Yes.
Yeah, it is. And I kind of sit and wonder. Of course, it was. I didn't read details on some of who was there and all that. This was a very short, brief report here. But it was. It's propaganda against guns, against our Second Amendment, and I read it. I didn't read the article. I just read the title, and I didn't want to get into the article because I really want to believe it's not true, but. Then I got to thinking, it probably is true, but the majority of people want gun control in the United States of America. The majority of people, it says, want gun control. And you have 200,000 show up here for this, but I'm thinking back, the reason I said I think it's probably true is because I'm thinking back to the time of our revolution when the founding fathers were growing upset with, with what the king was putting on them in every which direction. If you read the Declaration of Independence and go through those grievances, it's really astonishing what all they were enduring, and to parallel that with what we're going through now. But anyway, there was only 2 to 3% of the Americans then that wanted to actually have independence and fight for it. And I think it's probably the same way today. So it might be true that the majority of Americans want gun control. I don't know. So, are you there?
Yes, I am. It's Monday. It's Monday.
I'm losing her already. We're just in the first segment. Oh my gosh, come on.
Oh, it was a work weekend, but
I did have breaking news this morning.
But I just want to say one thing. I had a nice conversation this morning with a friend, and we were talked briefly about the march. And to me, what was frightening are, and yes, the numbers aren't what they said, but these are kids. These are teenagers. And to be one day our politicians. And again, if what showed up is just perhaps a small fragment, then it's no big deal. But to read some of the signs that they were carrying around, and to me it was a big sign, it was a big signal, it was a big just show how they have commanded and how they are engineering the thoughts of the teenagers over parents, over values and morals and so forth. And it was disturbing, not frightening, but it was just disturbing to see that, and I'm not talking about the voting in here in the next 5 years. I'm talking about 20 years and 30 years, maybe sooner, but and the changes that perhaps come along with, how they are conditioning these kids and their thought process today. So I don't know. It was disturbing to see some of the signs and the amount of hate. I mean, they weren't doing it out of love.
Oh no.
For for their fellow students that died. It's hatred. It's pure hatred.
Well, and it was.
And they don't understand.
It was instigated, and some of the organizing of it was set up by politicians and others that have an agenda.
But it doesn't take away the facts.
No.
That these kids.
And they are the future voters.
Yeah. So, I don't know.
I heard somebody say last week that they have to get to the kids now because they know once they actually get out of school and get jobs, if they have their own businesses, they mostly vote Republican or conservative. Of course, you and I know how
no difference anymore.
Yeah,
so.
The omnibus bill that we struggled with. Well, this was the breaking news. Then we can move on to another topic. But I got this morning, although it's dated the 23rd. I don't know why they're calling it breaking news. But the administration is going to ban all the bump stocks. Since he took the office, President Trump has had no hire. This is coming from Attorney General Jeff Sessions. Since the day he took office, President Trump has had no higher priority than the safety of each and every American. And that is why today the Department of Justice is publishing the public comment, a proposed rulemaking that would define machine gun to include bump stock type devices under federal law, effectively banning them. After the senseless attack in Las Vegas, this proposed rule is a critical step in our effort to reduce the threat of gun violence that is in keeping with the Constitution and laws passed by Congress. He says, I look forward to working with the President's School Safety Commission to identify other ways to help our country and our children, keep our children safe. And I thank the President for his courageous leadership in this issue. It popped up on my side panel today as breaking news, but yet it was dated the 23rd. But I think the breaking news is the word all bump stocks. I don't think they were saying all bump stocks before, but I don't know. Anyway,
the part is changing the definition of, if you could repeat that, changing the definition of an automatic.
Yes. He said, this is why today the Department of Justice is publishing for public comment a proposed rulemaking that would define machine gun to include bump stock type devices under federal law, effectively banning them. They've already outlawed machine guns, and so what they're saying is any gun with a bump stock will be considered a machine gun because it makes them rapid fire. And that
was the whole thing. They couldn't. My understanding. And I mean, I certainly didn't study up on this, but I heard that they couldn't outlaw bump stocks. They had to change the definition of what a machine gun is because the bump stock is not a full automatic firing device. So they actually, in order to ban the bump stock, they had to change and redefine what the machine gun is on the so it's dangerous, and I don't know where it's headed, but when you start redefining to eliminate, how does that impact perhaps the ARs? I don't know, but just
an AR isn't. I mean.
I'm not questioning what the AR is. I'm questioning when you redefine a machine gun. So for future,
ARs they're not rapid fire. They're not rapid fire.
I know that, but the whole point is, what I'm saying is, in the gun control mentality of the world anymore, you start redefining what machine guns are once, how easy it is to perhaps make other changes to definitions in order to eliminate other weapons, is my point.
Well, we know that the agenda of many, not all, is to get rid of our Second Amendment altogether. Although they keep saying that's not it, that's exactly what they want to do. They want to disarm the American people, and I think it's going to be, it's like we said last week, where Citigroup was going to take they were going to take it into their hands and make it a priority with their customers, that if you have this or that, you're not going to be eligible for loans. To do business with them. So it's a catch-22, I guess, so to speak. But we know that there are many in government and outside government that would love nothing more than to disarm the American people. and when they start talking about safety, you've got to realize that means control. It's exactly what it means. Now, I think we do need to make sure our children are safe, and I just hate it that we've come to this place in the world, in the United States, where it's not like it was when I was a kid, and it's certainly when I was a kid it wasn't. Sorry, I got a frog all of a sudden. It wasn't like when my parents were kids. They were able to walk to school and not have to worry about somebody hurting them or kidnapping them or these other things that took place, and now we do have we seem to have a mental illness problem in the United States, and I don't know the reasoning behind it, but we do happen to have that, and it's
do we really? Do we have a mental, or are they telling us it's mental illness so they can control various aspects of people's lives, or is it just lack of religion, lack of God, lack of responsibility? I agree with you. I was saying we seem to have a lot of people that can't handle life. Let's put it that way. We're not going to call it a mental illness with all of them. There is mental illnesses, obviously, but people just can't handle life. They don't stand up for responsibilities. They don't want to be responsible for their actions or their decisions. They want to blame everyone else or something on it, And a weapon is not an assault weapon. The assault comes with whoever has the weapon. It's no more an assault rifle than it is an assault knife. Correct.
When somebody stabs you, it's the person that's doing it that's the assault. I had something here. I've been trying to thumb through my little book of quotes. We were talking about necessary, and this little quote book has a quote in it. I'm going to get to it here real quick. Page 251. Everybody turn to page 251. This is the definition of the word necessity. Oh, my goodness, we're going into a break. I'm going to hold it till we come back from the break. Necessity, what does that mean? If it's necessary to take care of everyone, we've got to do this. It's necessary. We're going into a break. You're listening to Power Talks with Melody and Beth Ann in the morning. The number to call is 717-300-1218. That's 717-300-1218. And Melody and Beth Ann will be right back. It's necessary that we be right back.
Hear it first on FirstAmendmentRadio.com and FirstAmendmentRadio.net. Gold and silver is tremendously undervalued. Global demand vastly exceeds mine supply by more than 60% annually. There is little in the financial world more certain than a coming explosion in the prices of gold and silver. The U.S. dollar continues to lose value and respect as the world's reserve currency. Our nation faces challenges on many fronts, and a day doesn't pass without another economist bringing forth warnings of impending economic calamity. There has never been a better time than right now to acquire physical gold and silver. Discount Gold and Silver Trading was founded on the principles of truth and honesty. We believe in providing a quality product, quality service, and most importantly, competitive pricing. We provide all forms of precious metals, including American gold, silver, platinum, and rare investment and circulated coins. Silver bars, rounds, and 90% silver bags are on hand for the silver investor. Gold self-directed IRAs are available. Call Discount Gold and Silver Trading at 1-800-375-4188. Toll free, that's 1-800-375-4188.
Visit crosstheborder.org, CROSS, crosstheborder.org, to get your print, EPUB, or PDF version of Nicholas Arthur's new book titled When the Third Temple is Built. That's crosstheborder.org. When it comes to prophecy today, much of the evangelical Christian world has their eyes on Israel, waiting and watching to see when the third temple will begin to be built. The plans are drawn. The Jewish people are eager. Most evangelical Christians today believe that the rapture will happen before the third temple is built. Hi, I'm Michael Eugene. I was taught that Daniel's 70th week was in the future. Is that really what the Bible teaches? Have we searched the Scriptures and found this to be true? Why is it so important for a reestablished Israel to build a third temple in Jerusalem? Is it necessary to build a temple on the same location already occupied by the Dome of the Rock? Is it necessary for sacrifices to take place in the temple on Temple Mount? Is there really a rapture followed by 7 years of tribulation? What is the New Testament temple? Can we identify history and prophecy? Who is the first beast in Revelation chapter 13? Who are the 7 kings in Revelation 17? I have asked all these questions, and I have found Nicholas Arthur's new book, When the Third Temple is Built, answers all these questions and more using Scripture to interpret Scripture. The Bible says that no prophecy of Scripture is of any private interpretation. Nicholas shows us in his new book, When the Third Temple is Built, how the Bible interprets prophecy and not man's private interpretation. Visit crosstheborder.org, CROSS, crosstheborder.org, to get your print, EPUB, or PDF version of Nicholas Arthur's new book titled When the Third Temple is Built. That's crosstheborder.org.
Years ahead of the dominant media, FirstAmendmentRadio.com and FirstAmendmentRadio.net.
And we have returned. You're listening to Power Talks with Melody and Beth Ann in the morning, and I wanted to explain what necessity is. When they tell you it's a necessity, it's necessary that we do this, legislate this. You need to perk up your ears. And this is coming from William Pitt, Earl of Chapman, and he says necessity. This was back in 1783. Necessity is the plea for every infringement of human freedom. It is the argument of tyrants. It is the creed of slaves. That's what necessity is. So when they tell us this is necessary for safety, this is necessary for this is necessary for that, you need to kind of perk up your ears and watch out. Watch out. Ponder these things. Something's coming down the pike. Anyway,
well, does this mean that this is necessary out of the Washington Examiner? I guess it's dated today. Obama talked about his future plans for his post-presidency life at a conference Sunday in Japan, addressing how he might shape 1 million new young leaders in his mold. Now, that is truly frightening.
Is he going to clone himself or what?
If I could do that effectively, then I would create 100 or 1,000 or 1 million young Barack Obamas or Michelle Obamas, or the next group of people who could take the baton in that relay race that is human progress.
Wow. That
is a wow.
You talk about some arrogance. You talk about somebody that thinks that they're all that.
He says a lot of our problems are caused by old. He didn't say white men. He said old men. No offense, men who are old. He bemoaned at the current news and social media environments in which people are too easily able to find news that fits their personal narratives, and signaled that he is seeking a way to create a more productive forum. He says one of the things we're going to be spending time on through the foundation is finding ways in which we can study this phenomenon of social media and the Internet to see, are there ways in which we can bring people from different perspectives to have a more civil debate. And he was in Japan, and he had stops in New Zealand and Australia. He's probably moving to Australia too with all the other rich computer geeks and so forth. As they're creating I think it was New Zealand. They're creating a safe haven for the wealthy for when the rest of the world gets. They might have given up Mars, but I prefer they go to Mars. But I guess temporarily they're going to New Zealand. They're going to make it a self-sustaining so they don't have to mingle with us peons.
With us older people, with the old people, with the
people.
It too will be there one day.
No, it absolutely goes all along in step with what I was saying a little bit earlier about they have they've had 3 or 4 generations that they have been conditioning children, the schools, the propaganda, and the parents, and here we are today, and you see these marches with these children, and those 200,000 that you see pictures of in their little march are the same ones that Obama is talking about that they're molding in his image as far as belief and ideas. So it is dangerous, and that is their agenda. They truly are harvesting the youth, and it's and how do we stop it? That's why I had a conversation with my friend this morning. He says the only way we can stop it is to bring God back into our schools.
I agree with that. 100%.
And it is the only way.
Mm-hmm. There was I wished I had that. I don't know where I saw that, and I can't remember. I want to say Tennessee, but I don't think that's correct. But a state that had, they're making an ordinance, for lack of a better word. I hate it that I lost that. I just saw it briefly over the weekend, where they have to have "In God We Trust" it visible at the public schools. They're trying to bring it back, and they want them to see this, "In God We Trust." So that'll be interesting to see how that goes down. I'm sure the ACLU is already suing.
Probably.
But I can't remember what state it was. I cannot remember what state it was, and I didn't get a chance to really look into the article and investigate it a little bit. But that would be a good start. Put it on the door frames. Let everyone see "In God We Trust," and the 10 Commandments. That's like I said. We have taken God out, and there's a reason to remove God, because if you remove God, you don't have to be held accountable, right?
That's correct.
Well, in your head. That's in your head, but in the end, yes, you will be held accountable.
Yeah.
So,
but you know what? It's true. When you really put things together, we hear the term fake news and this and the truth not being reported. You have this collusion with Russia. You now have, the situation with. It isn't about fake news, ladies and gentlemen. It's all about control. That's their ultimate goal. I just saw a headline, Malaysian law could punish fake news publishers. Well, who determines what's fake news? And once they, somebody could be out there telling the truth, and all of a sudden it's fake news. So that's what it's all about. It's all about control. It's all about what they want you to hear, read, believe. And, hey, if people can't decide what's fake news and have a conversation about something or determine what is fake news, well, think. I mean, if there's a space alien taking over the city of Toledo, as it's happening while we're on the rate, you know what? That's probably fake news. Maybe
I don't know.
But I mean,
Well, the first fake news. Well, it's probably not the first fake news,
but it's all about control.
One of the first things of the lies or the fake news was the phrase "separation of church and state."
Yeah, exactly.
And that was the beginning of removing God, and they have escalated it. And And then when you look at this, Beware of the Useful Idiots out of Sal Alinsky's, it talks about religion, it talks about education, it talks about gun control, it talks about debt, it talks about poverty, health control, and under religion it says remove the belief, listen to the words, in the God from the government and the schools. You've got to remove God. Remove the belief in the God. They know exactly what they're doing.
They know exactly.
They know exactly what they're doing. Gun control, number 4, says remove the ability to defend themselves from the government. And it goes on to say, that way you are able to create a police state. So if you think it is necessary, you need to pay attention to what they are actually saying in their own, I'm going to call this their Bible, this is for socialism. And it's a selfish thing. They want to control you. And I'm putting that in quotes, as to whoever they are, they seem to think they will be the ones on top. And it doesn't usually work that way. But health care, that's a control thing. Poverty is a control thing. It's all designed to control you, to manipulate how you think. It says increase the poverty level as high as possible. Poor people are easier to control and will not fight back if you are providing everything for them to live. So you look at where the Democrats in particular like to go for their votes and how they speak about women's rights, but they're anything but for women's rights or equality. It's not about that. It's all about votes and control. And this 8 points for the socialistic state from Sal Alinsky's, Rules for Radicals, it's blatant what they're planning to do. And then if you go and read the Communist Manifesto, it just goes almost hand in hand with it. First thing, land. Take the land.
And they're doing that with property taxes, you betcha.
Yeah.
So,
and some of them, they're just going in and taking it.
Well, they're just going in and taking it. But government owns all the land. As long as we pay property taxes, government owns all the land, period. We don't own nothing, anything.
Well, I don't know where we need to go here. You mentioned something about the fake news and how we're hearing about the Russians and all this and that. I just saw this come down, and this was actually this morning. President Trump is ordering the expulsion of 60 Russian intelligence officers and the shutting of their consulate in Seattle in response to the recent chemical assassination attempt in the UK. So he is taking actions. It said the actions are in response to the alleged use of nerve agent by the Russian government against Russian descendant living in the United Kingdom. And then this came from who's this quote from? It says, "When you attack our friends, you will face serious consequences." The senior administration official declared, noting that the dozens of officials were being expelled. Another official stated that will signify curtail its government's attempts to spy on U.S. citizens by reducing the number of known intelligence officers in the U.S. by half. So that's coming down from some of the officials there in D.C. But anyway, he's kicking out 60 of them. Now, Obama kicked out some, too. I can't remember the number of how many he kicked out when he got upset with them. But let's see. We're stuck with Putin for a long time.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So there was just to those of the listeners who own gold, of course, it's coming back. We have gold up $6.60 today at $1,354. Silver's up 17 cents today at $16.80. The other white metals are also up. Let's see what the dollar, a little pressure on the dollar. I'm looking to see the dollar break 88 and see where it goes there. Currently it's 89.10. down 41 cents today, and pressure also on oil a little bit. But the stock markets, supposedly, all of a sudden the fear trade is often, the tariff trade, the trade wars. I really don't believe that's what made the markets drop 1,400 points last week. It might have had something to do with it. Maybe it was a combination of everything. But they were crying it was all because of the trade wars. But the market is up 400 points today. But it was still down 1,400 points. So it still leaves even though it has a reversal of 400 points this morning, it's still down 1,000 from the beginning of a week ago. So gold is doing much better than that. And again, folks, people aren't going to turn to cryptos and everything else when they're looking for a safe haven. When it truly hits the fan, there is only one thing out there for you to get, and that is gold and silver. Gold might be used as more of an industrial metal now, and I think that's why it might be struggling a little bit. But yet, it always reverts to a monetary metal through times of geopolitical turmoil and monetary problems. So, it's going to retain and both these, it's just like silver. It's always easy to manipulate both ways, up and down. Silver is going to do very, very well. So just make sure that you convert those paper dollars into something that's real. And gold has been recognized for over 5,000 years as money, real money. Ladies and gentlemen, it's not going away as much as government doesn't want you. They don't want you to own it, but they do. They do.
Yeah.
So, don't do what they say. I always do the opposite. I always do the opposite of what government tells me to do.
Instead of Seinfeld on that, George was doing the opposite of what he normally did, and he became successful. So yes, let me give you your number. It's 1-800.
I do pay my taxes. I do want to say that I do pay my taxes though.
1-800-3. Okay, let me give your phone number. 1-800-375-4188 is Discount Gold and Silver Trading. Give Melody a call. You got a special going on, or you just
We still have some dimes, 90% BU dimes that are still available, and so they need to give us a call. I didn't reprice it from Friday, so I'm not quite sure where we're looking at with $17 increase this morning. I'll do that during the break and bring the numbers. Yes.
All right. We have a caller. We have Kevin from Ohio on the line. Kevin, how are you today?
Oh, I'm just fine. How are you, ladies? Doing good?
Yeah, Kevin. There you are. Good morning, Kevin.
Are you there?
Yes, we are.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I just wanted to start off by saying, shouldn't we really be thankful that we don't get all the government we pay for?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. Yeah. I just want to talk about the obvious. And the obvious is the last administration planted that seed when they wanted as many people not in armed forces, his little youth army. Remember that?
Yeah.
And
yes.
He stayed real active. There's been a lot of good articles printed about the Organization for America. Organization for Action, OFA. That's their brainchild for bringing all these children into the action. And we really have to concentrate on that. This is the Hitler Youth Movement. And I just wanted to call you and tell you, we really have to be aware of that. And it only takes 15 years to change a generation. That's all it takes. That's what the Soviets worked on, 15 years. And that comes quick, doesn't it? It goes really by fast. And it's just so sad. And
it is sad.
I don't hear the youth in our discussions anymore either. It just seems to be us old folks,
Us old people.
Hey, we going old.
Yeah. Well, we might get middle-aged, maybe middle-aged folk or something.
If I'm middle-aged, what does that mean I'm going to live to?
Oh, about
this is the middle. Oh, my gosh. Well,
Enjoy it.
Don't discount the youth, though. There are a lot of strong youth that are watching and listening, and there's some that are speaking out. Even with this gun control issue there, and these youth that have been used and propaganded from the Florida shooting recently. There have been some on the other side of that coin in Florida that were also at that school that have been speaking out for the Second Amendment. So don't discount them just yet. They're young and they're very impressionable. So it's easy for them to sweep in and try to make an impression. And like you said, remember what Hitler did with the young people. And, we need to take notice of that and be just as strong and nurturing on this end to let them know what true independence and freedom is and what is the other side is trying to take away from them and control them, not set them free by any means. So
yeah, but it is, and sometimes it's not even the kids; it's the parents. They're just as much of the problem. And we do have certainly there is a group that are and that's how this country is being divided. And that's and what we all know, divide and conquer. Mm-hmm. And so, even there's a large movement that can be for the right things. Again, we go back to God. Look at the falling away. And so, it's, I like to be optimistic, trust me. I like to be optimistic and positive and know that there's these youth that are going to be there to keep things from being changed. But, until we bring God back, where's the youth to bring God back?
Well, we don't need to bring God back. We need to go back to God. He hasn't left. He's right here. And, but it is something that
we need to bring God back into our schools.
Yes, that's right.
We even need to bring God back to some of our churches.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
I agree.
That nurturing. Yeah, I like what you said, Sam, about nurturing, because there are a lot of youth that will rebel against the idiots. There are, and I do look forward to that, and I keep that ray of hope melody.
Yeah.
Yes. That sunset. It's out there.
It is.
I did, but it is going to be a fight. It's a downright battle against Satan, and we can't curse Satan. But that's wrong. But we have to put the tools to work through God to do that. And, I enjoy listening to you, ladies. Thank you so much for keep working.
Thank you. Well, thank you, Kevin. We appreciate
that. Thank you, Kevin. Thank you.
Keep praying. I know you're praying, man. Thank you. God bless you. We have to fight back. It's not enough for us, and I'm talking to myself. I know you do a lot, Melody, but it's not enough to just talk about it. We've got to fight back. I threw all those phone numbers out there last week. And I think he's going to be sorry that he passed this omnibus bill. Well, we'll just see what happens with that. But the American people did respond. I know that the phone calls were being made, and I know the tweets were being sent out. I saw a lot of them, and we've got to make our voices heard. And if we sit back and think, well, it didn't do any good, don't think that, because your voices will be heard, and that doesn't mean they're going to obey them, but you still need to stand up for what's right. And I think, sorry, I keep saying but the children, the youth, they really are the future, and we've got to make sure that they are educated, and so we've got to do that from home. And if you can't trust the public school system in your area, you need to reconsider something else. We've got a lot of listeners that have been very successful with their families doing the homeschooling, and I have a lot of friends that have done that. I didn't do that, and I don't really regret it. I don't know if I would have been good at it. But my kids got a lot of foundation where they were, and so they did turn out okay. But it's something that you have to take control of, just like we talk about taking control of our finances and our future. In that way, it's the same thing with your children. They're going to be taught all kinds of things at school. They're going to be fed all kinds of propaganda and lies or half-truths, which are just as bad as lies. So you have to be the one that tells them, they're going to teach you this. Today in school, this year in school, you're going to be taught that you were not created, that this universe is just an accident of a big boom, and this is what you need to be aware of. This is what we have taught you, and this is what we believe. You have to nurture them and give them an opportunity to make choices, and truth is the way to do that. So anyway, thank you, Kevin. Good. Our youth is
it certainly is an eye opener, and to see, and it's I'm always hopeful, and but in the meantime, we have to do what Beth says. We have to be prepared and do the best we can. And I don't know if there's a series of books that would be that the youth would be attracted to. To help, because sometimes preaching and discussing sometimes just isn't going to work. I always believe that if people read, give them books, give them articles, and let them that'll change their minds more so, because nobody wants to be preached to. So it's I wonder if there is a series of books, or maybe if there's writers out there, do a series of books that are basically focused. I mean, look at that. Look at the Harry Potter books.
Oh yeah.
So if there was a series of books that could.
I know that. That might be something we should talk to Chris Ann Hall about, because I know that she has several books, and I know she teaches, and I think she even has some for young children on the Constitution and the history of this nation. And so that would be something that would be really interesting to talk with Chris Ann about. You're listening to Power Talks with Melody and Beth Ann in the morning. It is a Monday morning, and the number to call is 717-300-1218, 717-300-1218, and Melody and Beth Ann. We'll be right back.
Hear it first on FirstAmendmentRadio.com and FirstAmendmentRadio.net. Since the beginning of time, kings have sought it, nations have fought for it. It has been traded, it has been borrowed, it has been purchased, it has been stolen. There's a reason for it. To secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and to our posterity, invest with the security of gold and silver. Call Discount Gold and Silver Trading at 1-800-375-4188 or visit discountgoldandsilvertrading.net. Listen to Financial Survival with your host, Melody Cedarstrom, right here on FirstAmendmentRadio.com at 4 p.m. Eastern or 1 p.m. Pacific Time. Visit discountgoldandsilvertrading.net or call Discount Gold and Silver Trading at 1-800-375-4188. Toll free 1-800-375-4188. The program you are listening to is 100% sponsored by you, the listener, on this First Amendment Rights Media channel. You will notice that there are few commercials on this radio network. There's a good reason for that. Corporate advertising dollars come with strings that limit program content. So without your help, these programs cannot continue on Internet or our several affiliates. If you benefit by the educational law programs, we ask you to give. If you are admonished or nurtured by the Bible and ministry programs, we ask you to give. If some voice a cause that you are passionate about, we ask you to give. If you believe in any of these, we ask you to support them as you would a missionary on a continual basis, as if giving a tithe for missionary radio. These programs are not commercially viable and must be supported by those faithful to the cause of truth. Look for the button to sponsor your favorite programs at our listen and schedule pages on the Internet. Then, when you subscribe, we will send you the last quarterly MP3 CD of that program immediately, and continue to do so with each new quarter. We will also give you unlimited archive access to all of our programs. We're asking you to give much less than a tithe, so that you may also send support directly to a particular program host, cause, and anywhere else the Spirit may lead you. Do all to the glory of our God and Creator, for His holy nation, the only kingdom that will last forever. Thank you for listening. Hear it first on FirstAmendmentRadio.com and FirstAmendmentRadio.net.
And we have returned to listening to Power Talks with Melody and Beth Ann in the morning. We have a lot of fun during the commercial breaks. I won't tell what we were saying, but anyway, we have a lot of fun.
Related to old people.
We're related to old people.
But you know what? They say the 65 is the new 40. So we're really 40. We're not 60. We're not in the 60s, or the 60s are the new 40s. I'll do it that way. So, right?
Yeah, I'm with you. What do you got? What you got this morning? That's news-wise, I mean, that you're fired up about.
Well, no, I just saw that Obama thing, and that was the thing that just, it's like, are you kidding me? And it's just like, the stuff. I did tune in for about 10 minutes of the Stormy interview, 60 Minutes. It was the highest ratings in 10 years, so a lot of people tuned into it. And the part that I watched, it was just like, what's the big deal? I get the big deal is 130 right before the campaign, and did they use campaign funds and so forth. That can be a big deal. But I mean, as far as her relationship, I mean, she only had sex with him once. And granted, he was married and so forth, and so it's just like, what's the big deal?
The story keeps escalating.
I mean, it's not like he did this when he was, it's not like, and no disrespect for Melania. I mean, that's who I feel sorry for, but
absolutely.
But there was always stories about Melania too. And her meeting with Trump, and I'm not a soap opera type of a person, so I just don't pay much attention to any of that. I'm not a gossiper, but there were stories. There were stories about Melania and, what her occupation was while she was doing a model, and how she actually ended up at the party with Don. But it's, by heavens, it's today. And, instead of going back to 2006, embarrassing the First Lady and the President. But again, did Michael Cohen do something wrong in paying $130,000 to her prior to, days prior to the election? So, the timing was not great. And don't know if it would have had an impact on the election or not. They obviously thought they did, or it would have if, she had come out prior to, and who is actually doing the, who did the urgings that she would, or that she should come out prior to the election. So I don't know. Like I said,
and why now? And why now? And the story keeps escalating. Every time the interviewer, she talks, the story escalates. And this last time that I did not see the interview. I did not watch it. I saw a little snippet of it when I was after I had company last evening. So when everyone was gone, I went to work and I started trying to pick up on the news. And of course, it was all reruns by the time I got into it. But they were talking about, she was mentioning somebody had threatened her, little girl. Or threatened her, I guess.
Threatened her.
It would be a shame for a little girl didn't have a mother. And, that's a big deal. Why is it now coming out? I mean, if it was all about money and keeping her quiet, who's paying her a little bit more now? And, she's not some...
Well,
I shouldn't say that, but the story is escalating now, and every time she tells it, it escalates a little bit more. And I'm almost to the same opinion as somebody else that it sounded awful scripted, like she's been memorizing.
Personally, what I think it's doing, and the reason it's escalating, is because it's possibly it's a distraction away from the woman who had an affair with him for 10 months or more. I mean, I thought the affair with this one was longer than just one time. It's just like,
Well, when she
why would they pay
her?
Why would they pay her $130 for one time that she had sex with Trump? But the woman, another woman, is claiming she had a 10-month relationship, which is something a little more significant, and she basically cut it off because of, supposedly, she didn't think it was right and so forth. And it's like, well, woman, if you didn't think it was right then, after 10 months, why did you do it to begin with? And everybody always, that's to me, the way I look at it, that's between Trump and Melania, and he's not doing it in the White House. It's again, it comes back to the money and the campaign and the connections, where the money come from and so forth. That could be, a big deal, but it's not like there isn't any other campaign.
Is it a bigger deal than the $15 million we can't find that Congress has used to cover up their affairs?
Exactly. What's the difference between 130 and 15 million? So, again, I think it's it's another example of the turning away from God in this nation. Yeah.
I mean, it's even the fact, not just the fact that he was a playboy. We knew he had been that in his life anyway. It's not like that was a big secret in his life.
It's like, it's a big deal.
But the fact that somebody's egging this woman on. She's not just decided to come out and talk about this all of a sudden because she was crushed before. It is so filthy, dirty, corrupt from every single angle, and it's just disgusting. And, it's just, I don't know. It's just really...
It just goes to show you, if 60 Minutes has the best ratings in 10 years, where the rest of the minds of the people? They didn't tune in to find out
in the gutter.
legal problems. They wanted to hear the smut. They wanted to hear the details of what went on, and they wanted to look at her. And I'll tell you what, she's aged. You see all these pretty pictures where all her makeup is airbrushed and everything. She's beautiful. But they didn't airbrush her makeup. They didn't make her look like that last night during during the interview. And there was a good point when she was saying that she was threatened. It's true. And she said she could recognize the person if he walked into the room. That's where I tuned in. But where was the question? Well, what's he look like?
Yeah, just because you can say, "Oh, it was him." Let's get a description before that.
Yeah, what did he look like? Was he blonde? Was he tall? Was he, did he resemble anyone that you could, blah blah blah? It's just. But yeah, people tuned in. They wanted to hear the smut. They wanted to hear about. So that tells you the mindset of it.
And we talked about this a few weeks ago. I don't want to hear about it. I'm so sick of them bringing this stuff out on every side, not just President Donald Trump, but every side. I'm so sick of it, But what they keep doing in Congress with things like the omnibus bill and other legislation that they keep pushing that we don't know about, it's just gotten to be where it's, I didn't watch a lot of it because I was really exhausted last night, but then it was the rerun anyway. It had already been on earlier in the evening and I missed it, but Levin was interviewing Senator Lee, and something that he said kind of stuck with me. And it was about how they try to, they were talking about the omnibus bill and some of the things that they're doing, and are these things constitutional? And he said, well, we have to look at the Constitution, we have to look how things were legislated. And I'm thinking, we need to get rid of all these attorneys and lawyers, these lawyers up there. We need to get rid of them. I had a listener from Nebraska on CSC Talk Radio, and she used to call me and visit with me and give me little pep talks. And she was an older woman. She knew her Constitution. She knew all kinds of things. She was a revolutionary descendant. And she said, those who make the laws practice the laws. They're up there with job security. And you and I can just barely make it in this world sometimes, they make them confused. 2,300 pages of a bill. There's only one reason to do something like that, and that's because you're hiding what you're doing from the people. They're hiding it from the people.
Legislation isn't written for us; it's written for them. And all the tax laws, it's not written for us.
No.
All the bills that are being signed and the money that's being spent, who's it for?
Uh-oh. I hear music, Melody.
I do too.
Are you there?
Yes, I am.
I've been having trouble on my phone line, so I've been having trouble listening to some of. Are you there, Melody?
Yes, I am.
All right, there she is. We are out of time. I hear the music, and it's been a rough Monday with the phones. I had trouble hearing, but we appreciate you sticking with us out there, and we will be back tomorrow.
Visit crosstheborder.org, crosstheborder.org, to get your print, EPUB, or PDF version of Nicholas Arthur's new book titled When the Third Temple is Built. That's crosstheborder.org. When it comes to prophecy today, much of the evangelical Christian world has their eyes on Israel, waiting and watching to see when the third temple will begin to be built. The plans are drawn. The Jewish people are eager. Most evangelical Christians today believe that the rapture will happen before the third temple is built. Hi, I'm Michael Eugene. I was taught that Daniel's 70th week was in the future. Is that really what the Bible teaches? Have we searched the scriptures and found this to be true? Why is it so important for a re-established Israel to build a third temple in Jerusalem? Is it necessary to build a temple on the same location already occupied by the Dome of the Rock? Is it necessary for sacrifices to take place in the temple on Temple Mount? Is there really a rapture followed by 7 years of tribulation? What is the New Testament temple? Can we identify history and prophecy? Who is the first beast in Revelation chapter 13? Who are the 7 kings in Revelation 17? I have asked all these questions, and I have found Nicholas Arthur's new book, When the Third Temple is Built, answers all these questions and more using Scripture to interpret Scripture. The Bible says that no prophecy of Scripture is of any private interpretation. Nicholas shows us in his new book, When the Third Temple is Built, how the Bible interprets prophecy and not man's private interpretation. Visit crosstheborder.org, crosstheborder.org, to get your print, EPUB, or PDF version of Nicholas Arthur's new book titled When the Third Temple is Built. That's crosstheborder.org.
The book of Revelation says, the spirit of prophecy is the testimony of Jesus Christ. This is at the very heart of FirstAmendmentRadio.com. In that spirit, we have created the Prophecy Reality News app for all of your mobile devices, streaming First Amendment Radio 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Available for your Apple, Android device, and smartphone, absolutely free. Get the Prophecy Reality News app installed today, so you can listen to First Amendment Radio wherever you are. The Prophecy Reality News app. Get it now.
Since the beginning of time, kings have sought it, nations have fought for it. It has been traded, it has been borrowed, it has been purchased, it has been stolen. There's a reason for it. To secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and to our posterity. Invest with the security of gold and silver. Call Discount Gold and Silver Trading at 1-800-375-4188 or visit discountgoldandsilvertrading.net. Listen to Financial Survival with your host Melody Cedarstrom right here on FirstAmendmentRadio.com at 4 p.m. Eastern or 1 p.m. Pacific Time. Visit discountgoldandsilvertrading.net or call Discount Gold and Silver Trading at 1-800-375-4188. Toll free 1-800-375-4188.